On this episode of Outside of the Box, Christine shines a STEM spotlight on Jerry Yao and his project in assistive tech.
I saw this kid playing with like a hand mold toy, and then that's where I had the idea if I could like create something where like the pins pop up and you can push the pins up so they can pop into place. That was the moment of inspiration for this project that I just realized. If I could create like a grid of these pins and then it's like a 3D printer that can move around every part of the grid and push these pins up individually. Before I started this project, I actually had no experience with like 3D printing or engineering of it or designing of any kind. So it was like a huge learning process just to make this project.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And we have another STEM spotlight today. And as everybody knows, this is something that I'm really passionate about and so excited to have these young people on that are doing these amazing things. And for this episode, I have Jerry with me here. And if you'd like to just briefly introduce yourself and let people know what you're doing.
Yeah, so my name is Jerry, and I'm a senior in high school from Walla Walla, Washington, and I like making assistive tech.
That is awesome. I mean, this show is all about tech. And in fact, one of the things that I was really excited about when I was reading about your project in particular is that you had won the Autodesk Award. And for those that normally watch my show and watch the robotics content, Autodesk has been associated with BattleBots in the past, and everybody knows BattleBots on this channel. So that's pretty cool that you got that. Now, as far as your project, I want to talk a little bit more about how you came up with it in the first place. I think it's just so awesome to use technology in a way that helps people, especially those who have whatever challenges, physical, medical, whatever the case may be. So please talk a little bit about the idea for this.
Yeah, I completely agree with you saying that like technology should be used for helping people. And for me, this was actually I guess the next step in a longish line of work. So growing up, I've always been interested in like computer science, and I've been creating a lot of like computer science projects since probably fifth grade. But this project in particular spawned out of when I was in biology class. I think it was sophomore year, and we were learning about DNA, and I have a blind classmate, and the tactile graphics she was using, basically like the Braille books with Braille images, it didn't have the structure of DNA. And I'm not sure if it was just lost or it didn't have it, but for some reason, like this book, this such a core concept to science, she wasn't able to learn. But like fortunately, my teacher had like a 3D model she could use. But this was like I guess like a catalyst to make me realize that there's still a lot of technology that's missing for especially this kind of uh, like stuff. So I researched online to see if there like why this is such a big issue and if there are any better ways to solve it. And one of the biggest things is that like to make these Braille images, they're called tactile graphics. You can do it either like using a machine, and machine like the machines cost like $50,000, so it's out of the question. But for teachers of the visually impaired, TVIs, a lot of them have to like make them by hand using like a stylus and a kit, and that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. It's really error prone, and especially in STEM where you're learning stuff with a lot of variables. Like um, an example I always use is like a parabola, right? Where if you're learning a parabola, you want to see how changing this variable changes the graph of the parabola, right? How like its size, its like slope, and especially when you're learning something like that, it can be really difficult for TVIs to create something to accommodate the student. And there have been like devices, they're called refreshable tactile graphics displays. There have been devices that have been made to create these automatically just from like an image. Just like they're machines with lots of pins and then they just pop up and you can feel them and everything. But at the time I was researching, the cheapest one I could find cost $25,000, which is prohibitively expensive for definitely like 99.99% of people. So for my project, I tried my best to create a fully functional but cheaper version.
Yeah, and I mean it certainly sounds like you were successful at that. I mean, I think that with the price point that you have, I see that it's $117. That's
Yeah.
significantly different than something that costs
Yes.
20 something thousand dollars.
Yeah.
Now, what were there any like what were the biggest challenges of doing that? Because I mean, like with such a difference in price point, I can imagine that there were some challenges in trying to work through that and figure out how to get it down to something that's much more affordable.
Yeah, so the biggest contributor to the cost is actually the actuators, which push each individual pins up. So I actually had this like I didn't know how I would make it cheaper for the longest time. But then I was at Walmart and I saw this kid playing with like a hand mold toy where it's like a bunch of pins and you put your hand on it and it like shows the hand like the shape of your hand. And then that's where I had the idea if I could like actually I have something here. If I could like create something where like the pins pop up and you can push the pins up so they can pop into place and stay in place. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah.
And then like do using a computer to do that and then like when you're done with it you just reset it. That was the uh like that was the moment of inspiration for this project that I just realized if I could create like a system of these pins like a grid of these pins and then a something like a 3D printer that can move around in all every part of the grid and push these pins up individually. So one of the downsides that comes with the lower cost is that Tactron is very slow. Like for uh, these expensive devices, they can produce these graphics almost instantly. But for mine, it takes a little bit of time, and that's one of the downsides. But um, yeah,
Well, I mean, really considering for, a person that is in high school to come up with something, even if it's a little bit slower, I mean, I really think that there is a significant, route to improving the quality of life for people that could use something like this.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
well, I think that that's awesome. I mean, at this point in the project, obviously you were chosen as a finalist for the National STEM Festival. Where are there any other paths that you see this project going? Are there things that you're still actively working on to develop it?
Yeah, so I've been looking. This is like beyond my scope. So before I started this project, I actually had no experience with like 3D printing or engineering of it or designing of any kind. So it was like a huge learning process just to make this project. And I've been looking into using electromagnets to like it's definitely going to increase the cost, but it's going to increase the speed while also being cheaper than using linear actuators. But and electromagnets in the past, like there has been research on this, but one of the biggest problems is that they have been running super hot because of how many there are, um, and that was like the biggest constraint before. But and right now, I'm just trying to like learn how I could potentially use electromagnets or a different system to improve on this iteration. But that's what I'm doing right now.
That's really cool. And I'm actually curious. I mean, because I know that this was specifically designed to help folks who are blind and visually impaired, but
Yeah.
have you even thought of other applications? Because I mean, I was honestly just thinking to myself, there's a lot of people who have like like different types of learning challenges and they're more tactile and things like that there even could be application for those that have more of a tactile like need beyond just like not being able to visually see something.
Yeah. So I've talked to a lot of like TVIs through working on this, and a bunch of the TVIs also work with other students with learning, like especially learning disabilities. And they were saying how not only this project, like Tactron would be really helpful with like like blind and visually impaired students, but especially with um, providing like another way for students who have learning disabilities. So I've definitely heard this from teachers before, and I haven't really pursued yet, but it's definitely something that's on my radar.
That's awesome. I was curious. It just seemed like a natural fit for what you're already doing. Now, how excited are you about the festival? I mean, there's so many amazing projects, and I think that it's a great networking opportunity. But for you, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I've never actually been to the East Coast. Like I've been to Florida, but I haven't been to um like the East Coast of the US before. So I'm kind of looking forward to just like going to DC, learning more about our capital and like obviously seeing other projects. But like I just want to get to know like the capital a little better, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that if you haven't experienced it, I think that everybody should at least once because there's so much history and things like that there. It's very, very cool. Now, one thing that I kind of ask everybody because I'm just curious, where do you see yourself going career way wise? I mean, do you have like a certain career path that you see yourself going down that ties in with what you're doing?
Yeah, so I really like making assistive tech. So actually, I guess I can turn this into a longer story. In my freshman year, this is one of my strongest memories in high school. It was my freshman year. It was right after homecoming. I was sitting in the back of my friend's car, and we were just like talking about life. And he asked me, like, this is a question I've been asked many times before, but this is the first time where I didn't have an answer that was like really genuine that I knew but it was, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I just couldn't, like, I didn't have an answer. And um, he told me about a concept. It's called Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept that dictates, like, your life's purpose is at the center of what you love to do, what you're passionate about doing, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. So um, I think after building building projects and especially assistive tech product projects that assistive tech is my ikigai. It's something that I really like doing. It's something that there's a huge community of people that need stuff like this. It's something that I could be paid for, and it's something that I'd say I'm pretty good at. And career wise, I'm not sure if I'll go into industry or do like academic research, but uh, I definitely want to continue working on assistive tech.
Well, that's really awesome. I think that that's something that is so needed, that we need to put so much more advancement in that area. So I think it's really cool that you're passionate about that and want to continue doing that. Um, and then my last question that I always ask everybody, because I love to hear what everyone comes up with for this is for you, being somebody who's developed something really cool that can help a lot of people, there's a lot of other students your age out there that may not feel that they have the ability to come up with something that can change lives or that can make a big difference. Like, what would you say to those students to kind of inspire them to go for it and to try? Because you never know what's going to come out of it once you start going down that path.
Yeah, I'd say like if you have an idea, go for it. Um, because for me, like just maybe 3 years ago, I'd say I was a pretty average high school kid. I went to school, had good grades. I played sports, but I didn't like really think that I'd be able to like do what I'm doing right now, for example. But I just saw an issue and I learned, I didn't even have the skills. That's another thing. If you don't have the skills, learn the skills. Like the internet is full of resources. You'll find whatever you need to learn online, especially with like um, tools like ChatGPT and stuff. If you have questions and you don't have anyone to ask, that is a really good place to start. Just like learn as much as you can and start building it. I guess it's the biggest thing for me was like don't be afraid and um, just like because when I started on this project, I had no engineering experience, no computer science, or I had computer science experience, but it wasn't at the level that was needed to create this. And I didn't know if I could even create it, but I tried my best, and it's at a level where I'm happy with it today.
Yeah, for sure. That's great advice. And I think words that I have heard echoed in the combat robotics community that I'm often talking to is just, if you want to do it, make it, build it, research it, and you never know what will happen. So very cool. Well, for anybody that's interested in the National STEM Festival, just being aware that it is coming up very soon in March, March, I believe, 19th through the 22nd. So it is something that there is a day that's open to the public and you can go and check out these awesome projects like Jerry's. So please make sure that if you are in the area or can be in the area, that you go give that support to these amazing students. But thank you, Jerry, for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So if you're watching, just please like, subscribe, share, comment, all of those things. Keep supporting STEM and keep supporting innovation. And we'll see everybody next time on the show.